Hi y'all, this is So Blessed. Welcome to the Blessed Place. How y'all doing? First, let me make a correction because yesterday's video I mentioned one of my blessed ones by the name, and I said Pete. That's when I said Pete said that they also air quote when they talk about prophet. And I was driving when I was looking over my blessed ones names to see who I want to shout out, and I thought I saw the name Pete, but it was actually Pele. I guess that's what you say. Pele, P-E-L-E, Pele Simone. Pele. I don't know if your name is Simone Pele. Sounds like maybe it should be, not should be, but sounds like maybe it's Simone Pele. But your username is Pele Simone. So I just want to say I apologize, and I shout you out again just to say thank you for being in the blessed place. Okay, let's get to the topic at hand. So I was on Instagram and I follow Michelle Williams. Michelle Williams was one of the three in Destiny's Child. For those of you who are not familiar with who Michelle Williams is. And I really like Michelle. I really like her, and I follow her on Instagram, and I've seen her in a couple of plays, and I just really like her personality. I love her love for Christ, and so I pay attention to things that's going on in her life. Well, she is engaged, and I was so happy when I saw that she was engaged, and not just engaged, but engaged to a man of God who's also a preacher, pastor, and his name is Chad Johnson. I'd never heard of Chad Johnson prior to this, but with Michelle being famous, of course, that's kind of boosts him into the limelight as well. Well, they have a show on Oprah's network, on Oprah Winfrey's network. They have a show called Chad Loves Michelle. So I watched it for the first time. I was following her on Instagram, and they put up a post that said, "Don't forget to check out, our show, Chad Loves Michelle." And they showed some clip, and the clip was really interesting. So I downloaded OWN just for Chad and Michelle. I downloaded OWN app, and I watched an episode. I think they've only had one episode, or at least that's all I could find. And the reason I bring this show up is because they were engaged, but then they've broken off the engagement, or I think Michelle has broken off the engagement a few times. And now, of course, I know this is recorded, so I'm sure by now they're in a much better place. So as I'm speaking about what I saw that was probably in their past, but I don't know how recent or how distant past that was, but I'm praying that they're in a better place right now. But at that time of the viewing, when I was viewing the show, Michelle said that she did not feel worthy of Chad. And Chad said that he hates when Michelle says things like, "I'm not good enough for you." And y'all, this is the whole reason I mentioned this, because I cried for Michelle. But I wasn't just crying for Michelle. I like her, but I don't know her like that to have all the feels for her. But I did cry for her. But I cried for women. I cried for women everywhere who do not think they're good enough. And you may be watching and say, "I don't feel like that." But unfortunately, there are so many women who feel like that. That's why there are so many women in abusive situations, or in relationships where the man does not care one iota about her, or that he's constantly cheating on her, or that he's treating her like dirt, worse than the gum underneath the bottom of your shoe. While he comes and goes, picks up the relationship when he wants to, put it down when he wants to. That's why he does, he comes to her house and sees her, but does not take her out. That's why he's been dating her for years and years and years, but on and off, but won't ask for her hand in marriage. And we stay because we don't feel good enough. We don't feel we deserve anything better. And that's what my heart bled for. That's what I cried for. I cried for the men and women who feel just like Michelle, that they weren't good enough, that they weren't worthy. And they were at a therapist, and the therapist asked, let's go back in your past a little bit and find out, where did that feeling come from? What transpired in your past or in your childhood or in your upbringing that made you feel not good enough? And I don't know, Michelle mentioned a few things, and I know that that's where it comes from in our past. It comes from sometimes childhood trauma. Sometimes it comes from either our mama not telling us, literally telling us that we're not good enough, or we're just like our no good dad, or sometimes it comes from our mom didn't tell us any such thing, but maybe we saw it in our mom, where our mom didn't feel like she was good enough for anything different or better. Sometimes we didn't see that in our moms. Sometimes our moms were, just awesome, great. And sometimes it happened as we went through middle school, elementary school, middle school, and high school, where we didn't feel enough. Or perhaps we graduated with great self-esteem, and then we got into these relationships, and we got with somebody who made us feel like we weren't good enough. So somewhere along the line in our background, we felt, or we were told, or we felt an impression that we weren't good enough. And then I can't imagine with Michelle how much scrutiny and mean, nasty, vile, hateful things that were said to her as a Destiny's Child woman, and even after Destiny's Child, comparing her to Beyonce and comparing her to Kelly Rowland, and and saying, she wasn't this, or she wasn't that, or she wasn't as good as this or as good as that. So I just can't imagine all of that, whatever might have transpired in her childhood, and then even being in Destiny's Child, which she didn't say that, but I guarantee you, if she wasn't on TV and she was being totally transparent and honest, she probably felt at time, not saying any particular person made her feel that way, but I guarantee you she felt that she wasn't good enough, or wasn't as good as the others, or maybe she didn't belong. And that is carried over into her relationship. Here it is, she's prayed that God bring her a man to love her, and that's what God did. And Chad prayed that the Lord will bring a woman, that he's waited for. And, here it is, they're celibate. They're trying to, live right and do what is right and not set of God. And then they're going through all of this, depression, with dealing with Michelle's depression and trauma and relationship issues and stuff. So they're going through, or like they were going through a lot. Like I said, I don't know what their relationship status is now, because of course I'm watching something that was filmed, I'm sure a few weeks or months ago. But this is not so much about Chad and Michelle, but about the trauma that we as women experience in our lives that carry over into our relationships. And I'm just here to encourage you that if you have trauma, whether it's childhood trauma, young adulthood trauma, or even adulthood trauma, or even us more seasoned women, and you have had trauma in your life that's causing you to carry those issues over into relationships, and you're from one relationship to the next relationship, and you can't figure out what is it? Why can't I keep one relationship? Why can't I have the relationship and the marriage that I so desire and deserve and want? And you're going from one relationship to the other, or even none at all, then just think about those things, and maybe think about getting some therapy, if you can get some therapy, or get some life coaching, or get some counseling, or get some some help. Get some help, even if it's to if you say you can't afford any of those things, and you can't find anything that's affordable within your budget, reach out to someone who seems to have godly wisdom. Hey, reach out to me. If I can help you in any way. I'm by no means any expert, but I do know that the Lord has blessed me with godly wisdom as it relates to love, relationship, marriage, and self love and self care and confidence. But my heart just I cried. I literally cried. Tears came out when Chad said that he hates when Michelle says, "I'm not good enough for you." And I thought, I want to just bring that message to my blessed ones, because I know there's so many of us who don't feel like we're good enough, whether it's about a relationship or career or just being ourselves. There's some people who want to even do YouTube or social media, but they don't feel good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, talented enough. You are more than enough. You deserve great things. You deserve all that God has for you. You just need someone to help you figure out how to get it. All right, love y'all. Y'all be blessed.